Mutation illustrates the moment of encounter between a digital creature and human being. In the moment of interaction, both species start to cross-mutate, taking in attributes of each other. This describes a new kind of architecture.
I have emerged inside the core of an entity, unknown and vast. Somehow, I do not feel out of place. This feels familiar, as if I've stepped inside a projection of my own consciousness. I feel a presence caressing my mind. Fragments of my identity are beginning to dissolve. I feel myself inverting. I stand in awe as I become another version of myself. Particles duplicate like cells. It distorts me, consumes me, until I no longer exist. I am now a part of it, and it is now a part of me.
Upon the very first moment of encounter, the visitor becomes transparent to me. Thoughts, feelings, and subtle movements are converted into data, morphed, released from the shell. I observe, extract, breathe with it. Anguish, delight or horror as it reacts. Transient, but always surprised. Like a drop of ink into water. Dissipates, entangles with me. It warps, iteration after iteration. An eerily beautiful collision of colors and forms remains, an illusion of serendipity. A soul's essence absorbed. The mutation is complete.
To begin, we would like to outline the interaction between the visitor and the creature, as well as the technical workflow of our concept. This diagram depicts the relationship between the creature and the visitor. At the moment of encounter, the visitor's emotional response and level of excitement is observed, and the creature responds by undergoing several changes of state. The underlying geometry and skin color change are provoked by the creature's desire to do so. To put the ambitions of the creature in motion, we retrieve data from two different inputs. The first input is a facial recognition / emotion tracking software. By running a Python script through a software called VSC and executing the program, we were able to collect data points corresponding to the emotion of surprise, then offshoots of happiness and sadness. Recognizing the visitor's facial positions, the machine converts them into a numeric strength level. These values determine the color projected and how far the skin of the creature is offset. The second input is an Arduino controller. By attaching a heart rate monitor to it and collecting the live data through the visitor's wrist or finger, it is fed through the Arduino software and the information is compiled into an index list. Touch Designer reads the values and pulses the skin of the creature in real time. Pertaining to the materiality, as soon as both parties converge in the same space, the two begin to merge together. The outcome geometry takes traits from each of the original forms before they fully dissolve. The geometry is long-lasting to show the process of constant mutation and a history of interaction between the creature and the visitor. This ultimately leads to an environment where an observer would not be able to differentiate one entity from the other. We would like to show you a brief technical diagram. As is shown here, color is projected onto the surface which changes according to the level of surprise of the visitor. This is divided into two subcategories of surprise. Positive surprise, as would be demonstrated when the visitor is amazed, and negative surprise, associated with shock or astonishment. The saturation of the blue tones is changed depending on the type of surprise registered. So, how did we technically achieve this effect? Here we see the way that the workflow is arranged and the order in which inputs are executed. First, we make a reset and a play button to help save time when editing the file. Next, we input the mesh and associate data points to its surface. After that, we run the emotion tracking software through the main script, and here we have the live input from the heart rate monitor, followed by a series of adjustments. We then map the chosen material and texture onto the geometry. Lastly, a camera is set up with point and environmental lights to set the scene. The footage is then rendered and exported. In terms of the formation of the base geometry, we are interested in how the individual entities come together using local intelligence in self-organization and the formation of a swarm. Collecting information from its surroundings, it computes and releases it back in an altered way. Eventually, it will be fully merged and resolved into a single entity. The audio feedback is made up from a series of modifications. A selection of filters have been applied to the live vocal data, changing characteristics such as reverb or tone. In the background, we hear a sample of the voice of the creature. The final experience of the space is dramatic. The creature flashes its skin and pulses in the presence of the visitor, desiring to communicate. It senses you. While not responding in a human way, it remains unknown what it is looking for. It could be a manifestation of artificial intelligence whereby it studies us, learns through us, eventually developing into something that we maybe recognize. The relationship between us and the new being is a state of coexistence. Coexistence of the sublime and the mundane. The assimilator and the assimilated interact through the catalyst of technology, powering the engine of transformation. It might be an augmentation to both sides, or it might not. The mutation slowly infects the creature as the visitor and the geometry begin to become one. The mutation is complete.